Hello, everyone. I'm back. It is time to do another lecture. Hopefully, these help out. Um, just a reminder last time we met, or last time I came on, you guys were talking about different types of agriculture, and we went through monocultures and polycultures, right? And one of the things that was most important when agriculture first started was taking care of that dirt. That's what we were talking about, right? Making sure that dirt had nutrients in it to grow whatever you wanted to grow. So that's why people were, good morning. And that's why people were worried about shifting their crops and moving their crops around to keep the dirt and the soil and the nutrients, right? And the other thing they were worried about was irrigation. So they got a good handle on that, and they were doing their agriculture and making their stuff. So we're going to move into, and this is pre 1960, all this agriculture that was happening with crop rotations and stuff, and that still happens. But that was as good as they got as far as figuring out how to do it the best way. Okay, so now we move into something that's called the Green Revolution. So what you should be doing, just as a reminder, you shouldn't be staring at me. I'm not even looking at my screen. I'm just looking at the comment section. I am going to go through the slides. I'll tell you what slide I'm on, and I'll talk about the slide a little bit. You should be following along. So the slides that I posted this morning, lesson 3, what impact did the Green Revolution have? You guys should have that up in a tab, and you should be looking at that tab and just listening to me, uh, because I'm not doing anything crazy animation or anything like that. So uh, I'm going to go through the slides. They won't take too long today. The Green Revolution is pretty easily explained. So you should know agriculture, very important. 99.7% of our food comes from the land, as we said in the last lecture. So I am on the Green Revolution slides. I am on slide 1, which just says the title. I'm skipping through slide 2, which is the agenda. I'm skipping through the review, which is slide 3, 4, and I'm going to slide 5. Okay, so right now I'm on slide 5. Slide 5 is the objective, which is after this little talk. And after you look at the slides, you should be able to explain the significance of the Green Revolution to land and water use. We'll get into it. All right, so let me see what this next slide says. Oh, the next slide, slide number 6, I should have deleted. I forgot to delete it. So you can go right over 6 and start on slide 7. Okay, so here's the deal. The Green Revolution, when we think green nowadays, we think, oh, healthy and Earth Day and organic, and green means good, and green is electric cars. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution came in the 60s, and that was before all of this Earth Day, and it's good to be green, right? The Green Revolution is something different. So just like, not a big history guy, but the Industrial Revolution, right? Railroads and assembly lines and cars that boosted production, and there was this thing called the Industrial Revolution, right? Well, agriculture had a revolution themselves, and it was called the Green Revolution, and it came along in the 60s, all right? So during the 60s, farmers and scientists working together found new varieties of wheat and rice, all right? So they were growing rice, but they realized, okay, we could find ways to grow better rice, or pick the seeds from the rice or the wheat that were the strongest, and we can plant those, and we can make strong crops, right? So all these new hybrid varieties, they had higher yields, which means they grew more every year than they used to grow. So they were growing more food. And the food they were growing wasn't just growing faster and more of it, it was actually more resistant to diseases, as compared to before they started trying to hybrid variety some of these seeds. All right. For instance, India experienced double the rice production in just a few years. Mexico experienced an eightfold increase in wheat production. So in the 60s, that's what I call the Green Revolution, because all of a sudden, all this stuff that they were planting, they were finding better ways to do it, and they were creating so much more food. So it was this revolution in agriculture that caused tons more food, which was a great thing for a growing world, growing populations. So I'm moving down to slide 8 now. Slide 8 is the first sort of graph you're looking at. And what you're looking at here is that the world grain production increased by nearly 200% over, I can't see very well. I see like 61 and 2000. So I see over like 40 years or so. You can see that the grain production, grains meaning rice and wheat and stuff like that, went up tremendously, right? 200%. The thing that's important about this slide is it didn't take any more land. So it says amazingly, all this took place without increasing the area of farmland used. We didn't grow 200% more food because we were making more farms and we were making, growing more, using more land, using more land. We were using the same amount of land, but we're producing so much more food on that land. So that was interesting. I'm moving to slide 9, which just is the same slide as 7 or 8 rather, but it says this was referred to as the Green Revolution. So the Green Revolution was the period that started in the 60s where farmers and scientists found ways to grow tons more food on the same amount of land. Okay, so that's sort of the Green Revolution. Here's the next one on slide 10. This is another slide. A key figure in developing and spreading new plant varieties, this Dr. Dude Norman, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for figuring out how to grow better varieties of plants, better variety of food, so you can get more food on the same land. Also, some people, the point is in this graph that's the grain per person, the green line that you're looking at. So that's how much grains on average a person eats per year, okay? And the blue line is the grain production. That's the same line you saw on the last slide where it started down here and it increased 200%. The point of this slide, the point of the last slide was that we didn't need more area to grow 200% more food, right? This slide is proving that it wasn't that we were eating less grains and that's why we had more of them. No, we were growing 200% more grains, but nobody was eating anymore. So the stockpile grew. So you were able to feed more people because it wasn't like people were eating less or people were eating more per year. It stayed basically the same over those 40 years. So that's good. That's a good surplus of stuff. And then that next slide, 11, just totally sums up what I just did in the 2 slides before it, the 2 graphs. So while production increased dramatically, the grain per person only slightly increased. That's what the last slide just said. While production of food increased dramatically, then the per person usage only increased a little bit. And that was because of population growth. And then the next point, it says that other methods of increasing food production have also been used, right? This new thing, this green revolution, the only problem with it was that it required more fertilizer and it required more water, right? So in order to get 200% more yield, you had to have higher nutrients in the soil, which means you needed to fertilize it, and you also needed more water. So, that could become a problem. But to get all that food, it was worth it, right? So now they are at their limits. That last sentence on that slide 11, they did as good as they can do, all right? They went through this point, the scientists and the farmers, and they said, okay, we can step up agriculture, we can step up food production. And they did so by 200% as far as grains go. So that's awesome. But they didn't, they got to a point where, okay, that was it. We can't make any more varieties. We can't increase the yield. We increased it up to 200%. We can't make even more of it. We're sort of at our limit. We're done. All right. So then we move to slide 12. And this is the way it was done. So just in case, I feel like this slide should have been earlier on, but this is how it was done. The Green Revolution was achieved by natural plant breeding coupled with fertilizers and irrigation. So I just said that they needed a lot of fertilizer and a lot of water in order to grow this much more food. Hey, Dave. But the Green Revolution was achieved by natural plant breeding. What that means is scientists or farmers, they grew wheat and they noticed that, okay, this section of wheat grew high and lasted a longer time and made more and was stronger to pests and disease, right? So they would take the seeds from just that wheat and they would just use those seeds, right? Because remember, even though you have wheat and it's all wheat, every seed has its different DNA, right? We're all humans, but we all have different DNA. It's all rearranged in different ways. So some of us are tall, some of us are short, whatever. But the Green Revolution, they would take the strongest plants and they would take the seeds, the DNA, and they would replant them, right? So over time, what they did was they had a whole farm full of these strong wheat seeds. There were no more weak seeds. There were no more seeds that didn't grow as well. They had superior seeds because they just naturally bred the other stuff out, right? Same with rice, same with everything else. They just took the ones that grew better and they kept replanting them. It's kind of like a horse racing, right? When you have a champion horse, they breed that champion horse with another champion horse to make more champion horses, right? That's their hope because the DNA gets passed on. When you think about dogs and pure breeding, it's the same thing. You're breeding two purebred dogs, and hopefully the DNA comes out of another purebred champion type dog. It's the same concept that they were doing with plants and seeds. Okay. So the big point about the Green Revolution is it was natural. It was a natural plant breeding. There was nothing going on yet, and I think maybe in your head something should be going on inside of your head as I'm talking about this. Um, so they did it again on slide 12. They did it. The plants are now at their limits genetically. They have found the strongest seeds. They have done everything they could do. They are at the peak of, finding the best, strongest stuff. But, and on that last sentence, today there is another route being pursued, which is a little more controversial. This is what I know all of you are aware of. And if you move to slide 13, this is where our guided practice starts, and you will see the activity. It's not really a web quest, it's just articles. The activity is the Green Revolution's impact and GMO's potential impact. So, up until about 2000, we met our limit naturally. And then all of a sudden, scientists said, you know what? We can genetically modify these organisms. We can play with the DNA, right? Because up until then, they were just saying, oh, this is a really good wheat plant. Let's take the seed from that and plant it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a very natural process. But all of a sudden, they're saying, hey, wait, we could probably take this seed and manipulate the DNA so we can grow something different or stronger. Right? One of the examples is in Asia, they grow a lot of rice because rice grows really well in Asian countries. So what they do, it's a big, huge staple in their diet. They eat a lot of rice. Their protein in some places that aren't on the coast where they can fish, the protein content, there's a lot of people that are protein deficient. And that's because they can't get fish for protein and they don't eat a lot of meat. So they were eating mostly rice, which didn't have a lot of protein in it. So what they did was they genetically modified some of the rice seeds to produce protein inside of it. And then when they grew it, there was protein content in there. And then when they ate the rice, they were getting some protein as well. So that's genetically modifying an organism. When you go in scientifically and you mess with the DNA, you modify it, you add things to it, you manipulate it. There's a lot of controversy with that. We don't know what the heck it does. We don't know what it does to the plant. We don't know what it does to us when we eat it. So GMOs, they grow huge stuff. They can speed the cycle up. So the pumpkin grows 4 times the size, or the cucumbers are enormous, and which makes more food. But we don't know what the heck that does by speeding up the DNA inside of some of those plants. So there's some controversy. Some people say it's okay. Some people say it's very dangerous because we don't know. So there is a big debate about that. The way I look at it, and I sort of explained it yesterday on my web thing, was I look at the Green Revolution as someone that weightlifts because they want to look good, right? My friend in high school was a weightlifting nut, and he kept lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting, and he looked really good. He was all cut up and he was all shredded and stuff. But he got to a point, the human body, he got to a point where he wasn't getting any bigger. He just was shredded and he looked okay. Right? So he got to a point where he wasn't getting any bigger. It's kind of like the Green Revolution. He was doing everything naturally, right? But unfortunately, my knucklehead friend wanted to be a bodybuilder. So what he did was he took to science to increase his mass, and he took some chemically enhanced, right, steroids, so he could grow even bigger, right? So that's the way I look at the Green Revolution and GMOs. The Green Revolution is as natural as it can get. And that's it. That's naturally as big as it can get. But we can push with science, with chemicals, with other things. We can push past that limit. And that's where GMOs come in, right? We're going past the limit of nature. So some people think that's very bad. Some people think that's not that bad, as long as it's controlled and all this other stuff. So on your next slide, slide 14, it gives you, when you look in the speaker notes, there are 3 links. Those 3 links are to articles. those articles are on GMOs. All right. That's as far as I'm going with you today. I don't have any written stuff for you today. I don't have anything like that because it's a reading day. You're going to need to read these 3 articles. All right. And the reason why is we won't see each other now. This is period 4. We won't see each other now for until Monday. So that means we won't see each other tomorrow and you have the weekend, right? So you should be reading these 3 articles. The next time we meet, I'm going to have a writing assignment for you. And that writing assignment will be along the lines of pros and cons of GMOs. All right. So you're going to have to take a stance. I don't know what they call that in language arts, persuasive essays. You're going to have to take a stance on whether you think GMOs are okay or whether they're not okay. And you're going to have to cite a lot of evidence for that. So you'll have to write a couple paragraphs on Monday. That'll be it, though. There won't be more slides and stuff like that. So next time we meet, it'll just be a writing day. You guys will take a stance, write a persuasive essay one way or the other, and that will be a grade that will be assessed. So it is good to get into those articles, look through those articles, and make sure that you are aware of GMOs and their pros and their cons, and sort of decide to yourself which you think is the side you'd rather be on. All right. Question what? Question. Melissa has a question. What's going on, Melissa? I am officially done with the slides. So now I'm just back on the screen. What is the question? I don't see a question coming to you, David. If scientists decided to not have GMOs, would there be more or less jobs? Oh, that is a good question. If scientists decided to not have GMOs, would there be more or less jobs? Would we have more farmers taking care of animals? Yeah. The only problem, I mean, yeah, you can look at that 2 different ways. You could say there might be less because there's a whole branch of science and agriculture that's dedicated to GMOs, so that produces a lot of jobs. But if you got rid of that, then that would mean that you would have to have more people growing because there wouldn't be as much food without the GMOs. I think that's where you're going. So yeah, you would need more farmers. I don't know what that means, but yeah, you would need more farmers, Melissa. So you could, but the only problem with that is you need more area. You would need more farms. You would need more land to grow as much food as you could with the natural method and GMOs. So that would be a little weird. But I think either way creates jobs, and either way takes away a certain amount of jobs. When is class opening up again, big man? Well, I don't know what that means. When is class opening up? Yeah, we need more land. We would need more land if we needed to make more food without GMOs, without science. Followed a dream. When is class opening up again? What does that mean? You mean when are we going back to school? What does that mean? Yeah, bro. I don't know. The governor locked it down till the 30th of this month. So it's at least this month. I haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything. Newark can't decide. It's in the state's hands now. And they're saying April 30th is when they're going to revisit it. So, I mean, geez, deep into May? I don't know. Everyone's guessing and everyone's saying this and that, but we're officially on lockdown till April 30th in the state. So I don't see saying before that. I mean, maybe a couple weeks into May if we're lucky. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a mess. When are we coming back? I don't know. Never. Nick, I don't know, man. That's a lot of people think that the year is just done. But I mean, obviously, you guys have to keep doing work. We have to justify, because if we can't justify, I know Reyes has meetings all the time. If we can't justify that you guys are doing work, then they'll just make you repeat the grade, which would be insane and crazy and cause a chaos that I can't even imagine. But That's why it's important to be signing in. That's why it's important to be turning stuff in. It's just very important to be taking care of your business right now. I mean, how easy is it, right? You guys are probably sitting there in your pajamas right now, sitting on your bed, hanging out, getting ready to watch Netflix all day. Like, it's not too much work. If a teacher's giving you way too much work, you should tell somebody. You know, what would that mean? What that also means less deforestation. Yeah, so GMOs would be less deforestation, because you wouldn't need as big an area. So that's interesting, right? Would this hypothetically be better for the environment? Maybe GMOs might be a better alternative for the environment because you need less space. That's a really good point. Um, I think I'm going to drop out, man. Don't drop out. Follow the dream. Who is Follow the Dream, by the way? Also, it's crazy how next week makes a month. Yeah, I know. It has been a month, huh? It's crazy. David doubts that it's in the 30th of April because we are in the second worst state in terms of cases. That is true, man. Every day, 3,000 more here and there. Hopefully you guys are being safe. Hopefully you guys aren't going anywhere and you're just doing what you're supposed to. When you start getting out, I mean, I see news things of they're breaking up parties and they're breaking up weddings and they're breaking up bunches of kids playing basketball in the park. Like, you got to be safe. You got to be careful. The only reason I'd even think about going outside is that, well, I walk the dog, but nobody's around. The only other reason I would even think about going out is shopping. I have to get, kids need milk and there's stuff that you have to buy that you use up and you need. So that's the only time I go out. And I've only been out once. I mean, I've been outside a million times walking the dog alone, but out as far as going out, I was out once. I had to go to the store and I had to pick up some very, just important things that the kids always eat, donuts and stupid stuff. But freaked me out. I was walking around that store like what's going on? It's a weird world. You walk out like boom. I saw a meme. I don't know if any of you guys will ever watch The Walking Dead, but there was a meme like every time I go out of the house, I feel like I'm getting ready to go on a supply run in The Walking Dead, because in The Walking Dead show, like, with all the zombies, they whenever they got ready to go on a supply run, it was like they loaded up and they were like really psyched and they had to get out and they had to go and get some supplies at a certain place and bring them back without, so it's kind of like that. It's like, I feel really weird. Like I don't have a mask, my wife wore gloves, but like we don't, it's weird. Some people don't care. Some people don't believe it. So it's kind of crazy. What's up? What's your question?
It has to do with science.
A science question. My kids are in school right now, so there's a science question.
My family is riding in a car.
My family's riding in a car? Your family is right. Okay, guys, you can help me with this. Your family is riding in a car. You see some rock layers in a hillside. Your little sister asks how the rocks got there. How can you best explain it to her? Circle the best answer. A. Tell her how earthquakes are measured. B. Remind her how your family puts newspapers into a recycling bin every day.
Use that as a thing to layer with the rocks.
Tell her about the Grand Canyon. Remind her how sand at the playground can be shaped into layers.
The teacher used the newspapers as a model to show the different layers of rock.
Yeah, but she wants to know how the rocks got there.
Daddy, how about you tell your kids to answer that question?
Tell her how the sand at the playground can be shaped into layers. He used the newspapers. He used the newspaper answer.
What?
Putting newspapers into layers. That's what Mr. Robinson said.
Yeah.
So that's the one I'd go with if he said that one. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still live. They're still chatting. I only got a couple minutes left. Honestly, I doubt that it's in the 30th. I agree, David. I mean, when you look at it, the cases and how small Mexico's cases are, I guess you could say we found the true purpose of the border wall. Yeah, right. That's funny. I know. It was funny a couple of weeks ago when I saw in the news that Mexico's refusing to let us in. that's irony. I love irony. Yeah, it's been a month. It's been a long time, but you guys just try to chill, try to relax. All you guys want to do is relax. I can't ever get you to do stuff. You just want to sit around and hang out on your phones. So now you've been sitting around hanging out on your phones for a month and you're friggin' going crazy. So I understand how it is. Yeah, the tables have turned with that Mexico thing. That is pretty funny. I'm addicted. I never watched news. I never watched CNN. I never watch it because regular channel news is depressing. but I've never watched CNN and stuff because it's very, to me, it was political and it was boring, and I don't really I had too much other stuff. But every night I've been watching CNN, and I've been watching, all the news and the way things are going, and I'm sort of addicted to it now. It's very interesting, watching all this stuff and seeing how different states are handling it, and different governors, and there's money. Everybody's fighting for supplies. Like literally, states are fighting for supplies, and states are arguing with each other. Not only are the states fighting for supplies and trying to outbid each other, the government is coming in, the federal government, and they're outbidding the states. So I'm New York and I need 100,000 ventilators for my hospitals, and I'm going to buy them. And the distributor, the person who's selling them, is saying, "Oh, wait, we were going to sell them to you, but your government just came in and offered $10,000 more, so we're going to give it to them." It's insane what's going on. It's really crazy. We just gotta take care of everybody, and it's kind of funny. I see all the memes, and it's true. The memes where, like how my grandfather protected the country, and you see a guy like with a gun in Vietnam and in the army fighting, right? And then it says how I protect my country, and it's like some dude sitting on a couch, like eating a bagel, not going anywhere. It's pretty funny. Like the only way we can help is by not doing anything. So I hope you guys are doing that. But it's 9:30 and I have a period 5 class, so I got to get ready to live stream with them. If you have any questions, let me know. Read those 3 articles. I hope you guys are being safe and calm and strong and smart and all that other stuff. And I will talk to you soon. All right.
Bye.
Adios. That was my son photobombing. Bye.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's fun.